enough. Push the button. Push the button. Oh, that thing doesn't stay on. Oh, yeah, see, it doesn't stay on. Look at that. That the award winner thing broke. I don't have my power supply plugged in over there. So that means I'm not going to use any drops for today or anything like that. No, we're going to be here talking exclusively about one thing. I'm going to post this out. Let me hit the link thing here. Dave Matthews is guilty. I'll prove it now. Yeah, I don't care if nobody's here. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to do it here, just straight up, 0 viewers. Hello, and welcome to this rare edition of me talking into a microphone. So I've listened to a lot of radio today. I've watched some YouTube videos. Hello there, sports cucks. How are you? I watched some videos from one Kevin Turner earlier, a gentleman known as KT Fun Tweets. And what I saw and what I heard was a lot of defense of a man named David Matthews. And so I understand that David Matthews is somewhat of a cultural figure to people. He's a musician of sorts, an artist that people love and adore. That's great. You can separate the art. Hey, Daniel, I'm glad I'm back on too. I'm just bored, probably. No, more, I have been pushed to speak because of the Dave Matthews incident. Because, like I said, I watched a lot of Kevin Turner's material today. He's somebody I consider a very dear friend. And I truly empathize and sympathize with everything that man has gone through. Can I post this onto... How do I push this in more places? I'm bad at saying where I should go. How do I make it go more places? I'm live. Can I put it other places? I don't know how. Edit? Yeah, there we go. Can I just push it there? Yeah, sure. I'll just push it to Twitter. What the F do I care? A premium account on X is required. Oh, really? Okay, well then I don't give a F. Screw you, Twitter. Sorry, I haven't used my StreamYard in like a month and a half here. Apparently, if I want to stream to Twitter, I have to upgrade to premium so they can go F themselves. So we're going to hang here on YouTube. So what I haven't heard today is a lot of dissection, not necessarily of the jokes. The jokes are all good and fun. But of the real victims here and what Dave Matthews has done beyond the poop incident to try to make this right. So I can tell you that one thing about this being the 20-year anniversary is that there's lots of articles written about this. And the people of Chicago are who you want to go to. So we don't necessarily need to go to, Steve Johnson's video or free beer and hot wings from 10 years ago or something like that. No, we need to go to Chicago. So we're going to go to WBEZ Chicago here. And they wrote a delightful piece about how the victims of the incident, that's right, the victims, something I haven't heard anybody talk about. That's right, Kevin. I haven't heard anybody today talk about the victims of this particular incident. And when I read this piece from Chicago that was released earlier this morning, or I believe late last night, I apologize. The title is here, and I'll share briefly, because why not? Let's just go ahead and share it. Just so everybody knows I'm not making this stuff up, okay? All right, let me see, where's my present screen? Yeah, present, share screen. I haven't used this in a little bit, so just hang with me. I'm going to go entire screen. I don't even care about the window. I don't need the audio or anything crazy like that. We're just going to share this Megillah. All right, 20 years after that disgusting Dave Matthews Band incident, victims now can laugh about it. And so when I read through this piece, it was a melange of different people. Some of them were able to laugh about it maybe 6 months after the fact. But some of them traumatized for years, absolute years. So yes, it was a Sunday afternoon there in 2004. And they claim it was a bus driver for the group. That's where you can't prove that it wasn't Dave himself who pulled up a floor hatch, and even after the lever didn't properly work, he might have gone back there and kicked a little emergency valve to make sure everything went through the Kinzie Street Bridge or whatever. So you can't prove that didn't happen either. There's no real evidence to state that it did, but you can't prove that it didn't. So, dang it, is this guy's name here. Dang it. And his then wife and two friends were on the part of the boat that got it the worst. He was 29 wearing a Hawaiian shirt, much like many people out there. People love Hawaiian shirts. I went through a Hawaiian shirt puka shell phase. About time you do a YouTube live. I know. I'm just bored. So yeah, this guy, 29 wearing a Hawaiian shirt and had a motorcycle helmet in his lap that he says acted like a soup bowl. So I'll pull off the screen share here because you guys don't need to see all these crazy ass ads, or at least maybe I'll just scroll way in. Let's zoom way the balls in. Yeah. So this guy, he was holding a motorcycle helmet, and then 800 pounds / gallon / whatever comes pouring down upon him. Okay, cool. And it's one of those things that, like it's like he mentions there, it's spun into the cultural zeitgeist, what have you. So then he starts bringing it up, because that's the other thing. If you're on it 20 years ago and you meet new people, it's a weird thing to have to bring up and just be like, hey, guys, yeah, my name's Steve. I'm into scrapbooking. I liked Pogs when I was a kid, P-O-G. I like Pogs as an adult, P-A-W-G now. And also, I was a part of the Dave Matthews Band River incident. And then, of course, you just know they're going to lay India. And so that's what this gentleman describes here. And he was one of the good ones. He said, hey, it took me about 6 months. I don't want to get into the gory details. But yeah, it was really bad. The one woman I want to dig into here, though, is the driver of the boat. Okay, so here it is. Yeah. It took years before Sonia Lund, who was 24 and the captain of the boat aboard Chicago's Little Lady that day, years before she could laugh about it, because of one David Matthews, or at least somebody in the David Matthews orbit. So Sonia Lund here, 24 at the time, captain aboard Chicago's Little Lady that day, took her years to laugh about it. Images apparently come to her mind. A baby that wouldn't stop crying. That's what she remembers from that day. Not Dave Matthews yodeling and laughing maniacally as he pushed the button that clearly pushed all of that feces down into that river. Yeah, exactly. As a Chicagoan, this is no joking matter. I agree. They tainted that poor bridge and that poor river and the baby. That's the thing. Images that come to poor Sonia Lund's mind are a baby who wouldn't stop crying because of David Matthews. And an old lady with her hair literally matted to her head. Again, because of one David Matthews. When it became clear what I needed to do, this is Sonia Lund speaking now, I hammered down on the throttle, and we just blasted back to the dock. Noting that she broke the no-wake rule on the river and may have bounced some smaller boats around a bit and tipped a kayaker or two. So I don't think Sonia Lund is completely in the right here. I think you do have to respect the no-wake zone even if you are covered in feces. I'm sorry. I hate to be a stickler for the rules, but the signs are there for a reason. Just because David Matthews committed a crime does not mean that Sonia Lund has to disobey the no-wake zone rules. No Chicagoans were harmed. That's very good to know. So yes, another thing she indicated was that she told the bartender to open the bar. So these victims, although they were covered in what I can only imagine was 800 plus pounds of feces, despite what other contrary reports will tell you, Steve Johnson, other 10-year reunion interviews, what have yous, bus drivers who were trying to clear their name after the fact. This woman opened up the bar. She's a real hero there. 24 years old. She said, I know what I'll do. Give them whatever they want. Shot of whiskey, bottle of water. Just give it to them. Anything to make them more comfortable. And then, yeah, it says it was a few years before I could take it all a little less seriously. Years. That's the thing. Dave Matthews, he went about his merry way. That David Matthews, he just skirted on to the next town. I don't know where he was on August 8th or August 9th. I'd have to look at an app or some kind of statistics. Setlist FM. Let's just see right here. August 8th. What was it, 2004? So it would have been the August 9th date. Where was he heading to? Where was he heading to on August 9th, maybe? August 9th, 2004 Dave Matthews concert. Where is it, set list? Was there even one? Where was he headed? If I had paid more attention today, I might know. Alpine Valley, that's right. So yeah, he's just meandering on his way there. Well, these people, they're traumatized for years. It was just terribly upsetting. And again, this woman, why is everyone laughing? It's not a laughing matter. It's not funny, and in fact, it's absolutely terrible. She hopes that everyone on the boat has skewed toward humor over time. Hold on, the story is not over, though. We're not just done with the boat driver here. So yeah, they talk about old Stephen Wool, who says he was alone as he was headed east to the Peninsula Hotel. A likely story. You say you're alone, that way Dave Matthews doesn't have to be implicated in anything. So he was the one charged with misdemeanor counts of reckless conduct and discharging contaminants to cause water pollution. Pled guilty. Odd. Odd for a man who is not guilty. And so I've heard a lot of speculation about how he's, he pled guilty because he knew the band would have his back there. He was coming from Alpine Valley. They played there the night before. Bands that play there often stay in Chicago hotels. Oh, Stevie Ray Vaughan died doing that. Oh, okay. I thought Stevie Ray Vaughan died in like a helicopter crash or a plane crash or something. I don't know. I'm bad about history. So yeah, Dave Matthews Band apparently initially backed the driver, who denied dumping the waste. So again, an immediate denial, probably because he knew I didn't technically dump it. I pulled the lever when Dave told me to dump it, and then it didn't work. It got jammed. So Dave had to run to the back, pull up the floor hatch, and kick that little valve to make sure all 800 pounds got into that river. So I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So that's why the Dave Matthews Band initially backed the driver who denied dumping it before he owned up to it. So I agree that Dave probably paid this guy off under the table at some point in time that said, hey, I can't take the rap for this. Even though I did it, I just can't. Okay, there we go. Helicopter crashed into the hills. There you go. See, I need to revisit my history. Beautiful. So the band went so far as to offer up DNA samples. So I wonder if you have to match the DNA sample type. So if it's feces that is emitted, do you have to submit feces in order for the DNA to be a perfect match? I'm going to assume yes. So then video evidence that police tracked down from security cameras at the nearby East Bank Club, quote, left no doubt. No doubt. Who was at fault? That's right. The David Matthews Band in some way, shape, or form. They don't say specifically it's David Matthews, but they don't say it's not specifically David Matthews. A number of lawsuits were filed, including by several passengers and Illinois Attorney General Lisa Madigan, who ultimately dropped the suit in exchange for the band agreeing to donate $200,000. Remember this is very important. The band agreed to donate $200,000 to state environmental protections. Great. And then this $50,000 to the Friends of the Chicago River. A great organization, it sounds like, right? So certainly, Dave's given him $250,000. He's an environmental guy. He would want to keep in touch and be on the short list of Friends of the Chicago River. But Dave wouldn't even get on a Zoom call to help the Friends of the Chicago River out. This is what they reported here, that Margaret Frisbee, executive director of Friends of the Chicago River, said she tried to reach out to the band through an intermediary to see if Dave Matthews would be willing to use this 20th anniversary to help the environment. That's all he had to do. Help the environment. She wanted to see if he would donate 1 minute of his time in the form of a Zoom call. Literally the barefoot minimum that a guy like this could do. And I apologize, that's a low blow. He really is never barefoot. A Zoom call that would be auctioned off. So she was going to try to monetize this Zoom call. That would be auctioned off at the nonprofit's annual Big Fish Ball. Or he could essentially record a cameo, a short video to be played at the gala. Quote, the incident is woven into the city's pop culture fabric, and the anniversary seemed like an opportunity to emphasize that the world has to protect our natural resources. But it didn't work out. I'll get to that in a moment, Casey. The Chicago, because I have the perfect answer for that. The Chicago Architecture Center, which continues to host river tours along with Chicago's Little Lady Operator, provided a joint statement on the anniversary that read in part, there is certainly no joy in reliving that event that traumatized. We're talking PTSD, PTS poop. That traumatized the passengers and crew. We chose to not let what took place that day diminish our contributions in showcasing the city we love with the world. And then I'm going to zoom in real big right here. Because you know what didn't happen? The Dave Matthews Band didn't return a message seeking comment. Because the Dave Matthews Band is guilty AF. All right. How did 800 pounds of doo-doo get dumped on the boat on the 1 p.m. tour, but they cleaned the boat in time for the 3 p.m. tour? Dude, just talk to Christina Ray. Power wash simulator. All they had to do was just drive that thing under a different, like, hose-off section. You know, like the Roaring Rapids or like one of those Jurassic Park rides at Universal where, like, you kind of go under a waterfall thing. And so that'll take out a bunch. And then on either side where they have those like sprayers, again, like Six Flags Roaring Rapids, you just get some power washers in there and it's just, you're good. Because I think the problem was the boat didn't take the bulk of it. I think it was all in that old lady's hair. That's why her hair was matted. So that crying baby and that old lady, they're the ones. Okay, the 30 gallons in the tank. Explain the fact that the alleged dumper only had 30 gallons in his tank. Who claimed that there was only 30 gallons in the tank? The guy who was driving the bus, who is the one who had to plead guilty. When you were talking about that earlier, Katie, looked up the average size for a tour bus, a holding tank. Usually it's 50 to 200 gallons. There are some that are lower than 50, so it could certainly have been a 30-gallon tank. I'm not saying it couldn't. But if it's a 200-gallon tank, then it's a whole different story, you know? So I tried to look up the spec. I was going to try to spec it out. I'm sure there's lots of customizations, though. So I don't know. I can't nail down the fact of whether or not it was 800 pounds. I don't know who made the initial determination. I would imagine it was the FBI. I would imagine they went through. Yeah, exactly. There's lots of dudes in the band. But I would imagine the FBI is the one who put forth the independent study that essentially said this had to have been 800 pounds. They probably looked at everyone who was impacted. I can't dunk on KT like Skin does. Skin's too good at it. I'm sorry. I love KT in a different way. Skin's older than him. He can put him down. KT's my contemporary. I don't know. It's hard. No, I'm not. No, this is to highlight the victims. That's what I'm doing here, is that I'm saying I think the victims have been overlooked today. And I think David Matthews could at least post a video offering some kind of apology or some kind of offering to the environment that lets everyone know that, hey, even though this happened, even though I paid $250,000, I'm still not over it either, and I want to give back to Chicago by at least giving them a Zoom call. It was a boot pyramid situation. And yes, each band member had their own bus. That's how you know they hate each other. That's what I always heard about the Eagles, is when they really started to hate each other, they all had to ride in their own bus. And that's why I think it makes even more sense that it's just like the Secret Service and the FBI. So, again, I've watched way too much FBI files over the last little bit. It's bad. So you know how they have like multiple helicopters in the air where like one of those is the president and then two other look identical. That way they can split off. So that's what I think happened here, is that what they're claiming to have been a separate bus for the violinist was actually a Decoy Dave bus. So what is normally slated to be the violinist bus was a secret David Matthews bus on that day. I do enjoy the idea that Linkin Park did it. I appreciate that angle that's been brought up. What about the idea that Linkin Park did it? I think that another band is probably the best theory they have to go off of. This is essentially the My Cousin Vinny theory, that two buses entered the same area around the same time and witnesses conflated these two buses and it was really another band. So I actually think the Linkin Park or Snoop Dogg. Yeah, I agree. That the mayor took a little too long. But I do think that going with a second bus is probably their smartest route to say that it could have been a number of buses that crossed that bridge. And unfortunately, 20 years ago, 2004, just not enough street cameras. Again, I'm going to go back to FBI files. It's hard to investigate crimes back in 2004. Not enough businesses have cameras up, and the cameras they do have up are crappy. The fidelity's really terrible. You can't make out license plates on that. Nowadays, you can get a little bit better, but 2004, I think it is plausible. If you were going to go with anything, it is plausible. The part that hurts is that they took the guilty plea, is that the driver pled guilty at some point in time. So we don't know who was in that bus. He said, I was alone. The perfect cover. That way nobody else is implicated. That's the easiest way for David Matthews to get as far away from the situation as possible. But if I were them, I would have launched an independent investigation into Lincoln Park immediately. Any other buses? Hopefully Skin Books. Fecal Matters I haven't seen too many episodes of lately. I do need to check that one out. All right, the Snoop Doggy Dogg bus was also in the area. That's what I mean. I think that is the strong... If you're going to go with a theory to try to deflect away from Dave, I personally don't think it should be the everyone had their own bus angle. I would go with I would go conspiracy route. I think we're at a time in the country where people still latch onto that a bunch. So I think Lincoln Park and Snoop bus are the best angle here to say, hey, maybe David Matthews didn't do it. And I think that's essentially what OJ suggested too, is that, hey, maybe I happened to visit the crime scene that night, but that doesn't mean I killed the bitch. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. That was OJ talking. I'm sorry. I channeled OJ there. Nicole Brown Simpson, a lovely woman. Her family, my thoughts go out to everyone involved. So, to close, the Dave Matthews Band did not return a message seeking comment from W. Bez Chicago. I'm sure it's not pronounced that way, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it right now. And then, I think this is from 2004 here. Complaint links rock band to dumped sewage. So good for Annie Sweeney covering that there. And you can see that. All right. The alleged fact that the dumper used Tide detergent, so it would have been very sudsy. That's an interesting claim because it's a hard one to verify. So again, if there was no... He's just claiming that the absence of suds means that it couldn't have been him. But we also don't know the sud density of that water. So he's claiming that it would be very sudsy, but I would need like a Mythbusters or somebody to actually go test what would happen. And I believe in that article he mentioned something about formaldehyde. It's like, I don't know why. Isn't formaldehyde for dead people? He was like, I'm the only one who uses Tide. I don't use formaldehyde products, which is incredible in and of itself because I think formaldehyde is like what you put dead people in, if I'm not mistaken. So we try to... Chicago police... What's the supt? What's superior? What's supt? I watch a lot of FBI files. I don't know. Chicago police supt. S-U-P-T, this word right here. I'm flummoxed by this word here. Go down. Chicago police supt. Phil Klein said detectives obtained videotape footage from businesses nearby that showed the bus on the bridge at the time of the incident earlier this month. Superintendent. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. And then Pooh says her fear that I didn't have right now. So if I just throw Tide Pods in my toilet, will it get sudsy? I mean, I'd imagine so. Yeah, the pod will just dissolve. Yeah, I mean, it would... he's right. I mean, that's... I don't know that Tide Pods existed back then, but if he was pouring the Tide liquid detergent in there, seemingly to cut the feces, I wonder why he did that. I wonder what the formaldehyde was for. The formaldehyde almost makes more sense because it's like something that you put on dead people, so it's more like biological. The Tide, though, it's almost like he's trying to wash the feces clean. Interesting. So yeah, the superintendent, he got those footage. He got the footage. The same bus was also seen parked at the Peninsula Hotel where the band was staying. So I think that's the smoking gun. But like I said, the My Cousin Vinny defense could work here. That if there's another bus that looks similar, you can't prove that it was my bus there. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. The raw sewage fell onto people aboard. Yeah, more than 100 people there. Yeah, the tour had been underway for 20 minutes when the sewage splashed onto the boat and into the eyes and mouths of tourists. Oh, God. Oh, that poor old lady and her hair. That poor crying baby. The buses have been recognized. Chicago police zeroed in on the band. Zeroed in on them. Which was playing in Chicago area that weekend after someone aboard the boat recognize the buses. So see, I actually think that's a strong case for the two bus theory right there. I mean, definitely, he is a delightful man. I do need to pull up Boyd. Is Boyd the dead one? Who's dead? Is he dead? No, he's alive. Look, he's alive and well. Oh, beautiful Boyd. Yeah, I mean, that guy's a power dumper for sure. What happened? Former has been charged with driving under the influence. Oh, no. That's tough. Oh, Boyd is kicked out. The victim is Dave Matthews that did nothing wrong. I can't believe Lincoln Park did this either. As I investigated, I think I can subscribe at least in part to the multiple buses theory, because if it really is hinged on potentially some video evidence that saw a bus that looked like that at a hotel and somebody aboard the boat recognized the buses, you can't recognize the bus. It clearly says the sewage splashed onto the boat and into the eyes and mouths of tourists. Boyd is kicked out for some off the field things. I think that might be weird kid stuff. I feel like that. Oh, okay. Hooking up with a dude while he slept. That's a weird one. It's an interesting one, but it is a weird one. So, okay, and they were very pleased to see a resolution to this. Yeah, how far is Tinley Park? Is Tinley Park a woman? Certainly in 61 years, we never could have dreamed to have that in our training program. Oh, wow. Okay, so that's the president of the Mercury Yacht Charters, which has operated on the river for several decades. So in 61 years, they'd never seen it. And I guess now it's been 81 years? So 81 years, and there's only been one major poop incident in the history of the Mercury Yacht Charters. So I think that's a pretty good track record. And if it happened to be Dave, if it happened to be Lincoln Park, then that's fine. I think that pretty much wraps it up. I think we've pretty much surmised that Dave Matthews is at least guilty in some way, shape, or form, mainly because he's not willing to do a Zoom. He's not willing to record a short video for the Friends of the Chicago River, who, I mean, I think he should be friends with for life. I think they're bonded in a very biological way. And then he refused to return a message seeking comment. Can't even return his messages. This big shot. But on that note, although I do believe he's moderately guilty, I do subscribe to the multiple bus theory, and I can open my eyes to see that it might have been Lincoln Park, it might have been Snoop, it might have been anybody who was carrying 800 pounds of feces that day. Could have been anyone. So if you or anyone you know has any information that could lead to an arrest in this case, contact your local FBI field office. I don't know if the Chicago FBI field office is still in charge of this particular investigation or crime, and I don't even know that it was a crime since it was settled in a civil suit, and basically just by a donation to an environmental company. But in the event that you or a loved one know anything about this crime, please report it to local authorities there. All right, I'm going to bail out. Maybe I'll be back again soon. I more just wanted to support the victims of the Kinzie Street Bridge incident, and this has been another edition of If Dave Matthews Did It. Have a good evening.